Welcome on in to another edition of Smart Chat. I hope all is well. It is a great night for numerous reasons. Do want to do a raw thought video for you. That's one reason why it's a great night. Second reason is you took the time to make this video a part of your day. You've also checked out my other channel, the Tom Brand One. I know you did. Third, it is my birthday. It's three things. Fourth, we're on the road to WrestleMania. Well, maybe for some, that road to WrestleMania is something that we would not want to see because we're afraid of the level of expectations and disappointment. Nonetheless, raw thoughts from February 29th, 2016. They're in no particular order. And again, this is just opinions. I'm not right. I'm not wrong. You're not right. You're not wrong. Opinions. Roman Reigns was not on your TV screen. Now, he also was not on your main event for Raw. So it'll be interesting to see what the ratings will be from Raw. And as I'm making this video, the ratings are probably out. I should have checked them, but I'm not prepared. I apologize. But I think that the ratings really will not be that much different with or without Roman Reigns in the main event. I really think it does not matter. Being a lifelong wrestling fan, I never understood. At this point, I'm 35 years old. Okay, I never understood how, especially us older wrestling fans, when we go on YouTube and we look at Facebook, Twitter, when one person does not have the same agreement about said wrestler, they take it so personal. And you attack a fellow wrestling fan like they're insulting your mother. Just never understood. Grown men arguing about wrestling and making it personal. Just because someone has a different opinion than you, let's not make it personal. Please, come on, guys. Bigger issues in the world. Same regards to, Roman Reigns has been in the main event picture. He's been in the title picture. He's been champion, and he will be continued to be pushed. Whether we like it or we don't. Now, I've been supporting Roman Reigns. I've been critical of him, but in general, I am a Roman Reigns fan. I think he paid his dues. The fact of the matter is, if you look back at all the guys that had pushes, runs with the title, and I'm talking runs like a good year, good 2 years run. I'm not talking about your Jack Swaggers who had a few months. I'm not talking about, Miz who had a few months. The guys that WWE pushes for long reigns, and that's what Roman Reigns, I think, will have a long reign at the top. They've never really messed that up. At the end of the day, that title reign, they usually get it right. They have the long reign. They might not cater to what we're looking for in particular, but they usually, if you're objective, they usually get it right. So though it's not clicking for Roman Reigns now, I think it will click and his title reign will be good. Again, just my opinion. And it will be so good that, once they finally turn Roman Reigns heel, then the wrestling fan will again complain that they hate him as a heel. Some of the wrestling fans. Some wrestling fans just could never be happy. Again, it's just my thought and my opinion. Speaking of Reigns, fabulous Freebirds were announced going into the Hall of Fame. And wow, finally, long overdue, I think, for the fabulous Freebirds. I remember I told you that my favorite wrestler was Kerry Von Erich. Watching wrestling from a little kid, probably I think it was like 86, 87, a 6-year-old kid. I remember, as I turn the lights back on, I remember Kerry Von Erich. There goes the car. Nissan, great car, by the way, Altima. Kerry Von Erich was my favorite wrestler. But if you backtrack, when the Von Erichs were in the promotions there, the feud that they had with the fabulous Freebirds, this feud lasted in the territories for about two years, a good 2.5 years. The fabulous Freebirds would draw so much heat and so much hate that people would be fighting in the stands. In Texas, guys like Warner Wolf, the Texas news stations would actually run the story of the feuds between the Freebird and the Von Erichs. They would run the story of their matches, as even though it was a different time, a different era, even though wrestling is fake, they ran it on mainstream news. There was no ESPN back then. Mainstream news. And that says a lot. Mainstream news with the sports, with your hockey, with your basketball. Those feuds were something to live by. Something you have to experience. They lasted for a while. This team, the fabulous Freebirds, drew gates where they went. $400,000 to $500,000. Look it up. It's not made up. $500,000 back in the height of the popularity from 82, 83, 81, 82, 83. That equivalent of that gate is probably the equivalent of maybe $1 million right now in today's age. Fabulous Freebirds, they came up with the Freebird rule. You hear about the Freebird rule right now with what New Day is doing, and teams like New Day had it, Demolition used to do it, the Freebird rule, where any two members of the 3 members in the group could defend the tag team title. Freebirds also were revitalized. They introduced theme music, wrestling entrance music. They started a wave down in the South before the East caught up with it here. So that was groundbreaking in that sense. They were coming out to Leonard Skinner, and Badstreet was made, and they revitalized everything, revolutionized, started a new trend, long overdue. And it's great that Kevin Von Erich will be introducing them into the Hall of Fame. Kevin Von Erich, another one of my favorites, just watching the tapes from the old days when I was growing up. With the Freebirds too, they had 4 members. All of them are going in. They had a different look. They weren't jacked up. They were regular guys. Their diet was cigarettes, drugs, and Jack Daniels. Different type of tag team. The one thing you could I guess, criticized them about is they didn't really have a physique. But they're going into the Hall of Fame. Long overdue. Congratulations to the Freebirds. Next up, and Freebirds, in my opinion, one of the best three-man faction group around. Doesn't compare with the Shield. Doesn't compare with other teams. Look up, Von Erich feuds. Look up Road Warrior feuds. Great. Speaking of feuds, we have this whole thing with Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch. They had a match on Raw. If you've seen the way that finish was, if you look closely, it was weird. Now, Charlotte was on the outside, not interfering at all, even after the match. Just simply a bystander watching the match. Sasha Banks does some, whatever the move is called, a sunset flip off the top rope. Becky lands first. And then Sasha just kind of lands with her and then just kind of lays down where it's 1, 2, 3. Both shoulders are pinned on both girls. Draw. Look at that replay again. That looks so horrible. Where Sasha Banks just literally laid down. That way she get pinned as well. I'm surprised WWE showed it so many times. If you watched it, you're like, holy crap, but that was a botch. Do you think WWE will explain this somehow? Because how do you explain that mess? Maybe they don't have to explain it, but, the smart fans, they'll be all over it. All over it. Lana, you haven't really seen her coming out with Rusev. You haven't really seen her coming out with the League of Nations. Word is she's training in the back to be training to be a wrestler. Word is that she's having heat with the back. All stemming from her announcing to TMZ that her and Rusev are getting married, breaking character. She's posting videos on Facebook, Twitter, of speaking with the accent one time, then not speaking with the accent, then Rusev, who's supposed to be this big intimidating guy, saying, Rusev, hi, wave for the camera. Rusev not being in character. WWE tries to kind of blur reality and fiction, and Lana's not helping matters, which I think why she's kind of not being thrown out there with Rusev, just to punish her, my opinion anyway. Now, what exactly were they trying to do with Brie Bella, where basically Lana is just verbally bitch slapping Brie Bella, saying her husband's a cripple, goat face, and Lana has a brood of a man. Now, if you're Brie Bella, her response was, well, you can't say anything until you step in the ring. Who says that? And storyline-wise, wouldn't you just slap Lana? The little things that sometimes need to make sense, and sometimes they don't. Undertaker came out, and everyone was anxious to see The Undertaker. They announced it, that he will be appearing on Raw. That big build-up lasted about 2 minutes. Undertaker did not say hardly anything. He said things that lasted for about 2 minutes. And that was it. Vince, yet again, has a delayed response. Delayed reaction, if you look at it. It just looks horrible. So much so, I think his delayed reactions, because when Vince came out, he really didn't get like no heat, nothing. Like, kind of ho-hum, like, Vince is out. Notice it. He was kind of like surprised, shocked. Maybe it's time for Vince to just kind of retire and let it go. Speaking of another tidbit, we all as wrestling fans were maybe excited that we thought, Shane McMahon is gonna is gonna be sticking around with the company long term after WrestleMania. I don't think said it before. I don't think it's gonna happen. He did an interview recently with a show out here in New York. I think it's also on TV on the Yes Network. So it's also national. It's the Michael K. Show. Where Shane McMahon, if you listen to that interview, pretty much you get the impression that he's only here short term just to work WrestleMania, strictly as a on-screen character, just to kind of fill the void with superstars that are not able to participate. I don't see him being here long term, and thus making that whole, I think that whole rumor of roster splits not happening, quite honestly. Just my opinion, and again, I could be wrong. That's as far as and Stephanie McMahon, that segment that she had was good. It was actually better. I liked the promo. It was better than her recent mic work in the last couple of Raws. So really, that's all I have for this Raw. Just some of my thoughts. I hope all is well, and I look forward to speaking very, very soon. Have a great night.